A review of the Utopia TV series, as a deep state work of art, utilizing the revelation of the method, and an analysis of its typology and apocalyptic eschatology. Utopia begins with one of the main protagonists, Becky, giving a synopsis of the Utopia Experiments manuscript. It's about a scientist who makes a deal with the devil, for knowledge. And the devil appears in a number of guises, but always as an animal-human hybrid, most notably a rabbit. The plot of the series revolves around a shadowy organization of the synarchy, called the Network, and its bioweapon virus, Janus or Jimmy Deesh L, and is undergirded by a subtle undertone that's reflective of the narrative structure of the Book of Revelation. Mark Dane, the scientist who makes the Faustian Pact, is analogous to the false prophet, Mr. Rabbit Letton, whose name is Milner. A reference to the Rhodes Milner round table groups is comparable to the beast and is the agent of the devil, whose hybrid chimeric appellation is symbolically the land of Pan and the satyrs and many other historical representations of the devil that semiotically derive, ultimately, from Azazel and the Esserim of Leviticus. The injury to the right eye of Wilson, the final inheritor of the mantle of the beast, or the second beast of the Book of Revelation, the agents of Satan on earth, is in symbolic conformity with the description of the bad shepherd in the Antichrist-proof text of Zechariah 11:17, as is the injury he delivers to the left arm of the network's goon, Lee, which is why the script required them to work together for a time, for the metaphor to apply. Being united in purpose, during that period, they together became emblematically synonymous with this particular scriptural personage. Mark Dane's daughter, Jessica Hyde, the tabernacle of the virus, Janus, is presented as the woman of the apocalypse, representing the people of God, Reverend. Chapter 12, who being threatened by the dragon, identified as the devil, flees into the wilderness, carrying the seed of apostasy within her. She is furthermore accompanied by a man named Christos, a character whose background is not touched upon, without father or mother or genealogy, Heb 7:3, who, like many of the characters of this piece, fulfills a typological role, further illustrated by his immolation and death at the hands of the establishment, crucified to a tree. The Jesuits are never mentioned in the script, however, their hidden hand is revealed. Buried in the artwork of the graphic novel's manuscript, The Antichrist to Lettons, the Beast. The pharmaceutical company that provides the vaccine is named Corvate. Interesting, considering that vowels are fluid and readily substituted for each other in ancient alphabets, being consonantal. The redundant R is numerologically equivalent to 18. T is 20, the median being 19, COVID. Again with a single quote 93. I've written many articles on the significance of this year, as a pivotal point in culture. Internationally, Utopia, Pergus, the multinational corporation that was behind the distribution of a protein in the food chain, one half of a component to an eventual bioweapon, when combined with Corvate's amino acid, lace vaccine, producing the mutagenic protein toxin Janus, mobilized in single quote 93. Pergus is a lake in Sicily that was associated with the Eleusinian mysteries, mentioned in Ovid's Metamorphosis, and featured the underworld figures of Persephone and Demeter. The rites were gynocentric, chthonic, and featured motifs of destruction and renewal. Corvate's serum, which contained a particular form of amino acid, again, when combined with the Pergus protein, is named after another god of cycles, Janus, who simultaneously looks both backward and forward, possessing a full spectrum, panoptic surveil of the perpetually recurring scope of creation, destruction and renewal. Janus' two-faced visage is also symbolically evocative of the underlying Manichaean dualism of their undergirding philosophy. Works synergistically with Pergus dormant proteins and is the top secret project at the heart of the network's machinations. It was a serum developed initially by Philip Carvel. Its purpose was to mutate and sterilize 90-95% of the human population in order to prevent the destruction of the Earth's environment and the descent of humanity into wars over resources. It was split into 2 parts to avoid detection. A protein called GCHN1 was added to all industrially farmed corn by Purgas, and a particular amino acid was inserted into the vaccine for Russian flu, bicorvate. On their own, the components are harmless, but become weaponized in synergy as Janus. This mutagenic protein molecule and pathogen is also genetically selective, in terms of the ethnic groups it affects, providing it with the flavor of a pharmaceutically delivered, dysgenic, killer-G plan. Utopia's political landscape features many mock newscasts within the show, utilizing real-life news readers within the segments. That sees the technocrats using the climate change propaganda as a justification for their commandeering of the evolutionary process, which is further reflected upon and subtly inferred by the inordinate amount of scenes featuring green power, wind turbines as a backdrop, and the introductions to many of the episodes, whose opening scenes dwell on wheat fields in the various stages of the ripening process, a technocratic inversion and perversion of the biblical narrative, to separate the wheat from the chaff. Even the beginning of each episode of Utopia contains the Ukrainian flag. The current Ukrainian flag consists of 2 horizontal bands of yellow and blue. The colors represent the wide blue skies, and the yellow represents the wheat fields that characterize the country. Ukraine could have regained its position as a global breadbasket, realizing the huge agricultural potential of its famous Chernozem, one of the most fertile soils in the world.
Agriculture is one of the prime assets of this former Soviet republic, much as in Russia and Kazakhstan, with which it forms an eastern corn belt. Farming is all the more important as Ukraine lacks its neighbors' gas and mineral resources. Ukraine is already the world's top producer of barley, ranking second for sunflower and rapeseed. It produces about 50 megatons of grain, just under half of which is exported. But over the next 10 to 15 years, the country aims to triple its export capacity to become one of the major suppliers, perhaps even the top supplier, for the main importing countries around the Mediterranean, says Jean-Jacques Herve, a former advisor to the Ukrainian Ministry of Agriculture. Now he is at Index Bank, the local subsidiary of France's Crédit Agricole. This country has the potential to produce 100 megatons. Things are going to get darker, and with the rate of accelerationism, it could happen at any time. I think it's very likely to be in the bag by 2030, but I have a suspicion that Utopia's late hand Mr. Rabbit may refer to 2023. After all, the origin story for the character was Chinese. In accordance with Utopia's Year of the Rabbit insinuated projections for the year 2023, it's interesting to note that the establishment have recently predicted that a Carrington event may occur around this time.